right, so we've talked about atoms. We've talked about ions, which are charged atoms. Now we're going to start sticking some atoms together. When we start putting atoms together, we form something called compounds. So when we're talking about atoms, we're generally talking about one atom, just the one thing by itself. Compounds, on the other hand, are two or more atoms which are stuck together, chemically stuck together. When we have two or more atoms combining chemically, sticking together chemically, we say that those atoms are bonded. Okay, they have formed a chemical bond. All right, there are two types of bonds. Oh no, I did not want to do that. Let me do this. All right, there are two types of bonds, two types of chemical bonds that form. All right, one of them is an ionic bond, and that's why we talked about ions before we did this part. Ionic bonds involve ions. And so what happens with ionic bonds is one atom gives away one or more of its electrons to become charged, and another atom will take those electrons to become charged as well. When we have two atoms that are charged, and if they have opposite charges, what are they going to want to do? If you said they are attracted to each other, that is correct. And that forms the basis of an ionic bond. It is called an electrostatic bond, electrostatic charge. I'll just give you a quick example. Maybe I'll go down here of what I'm talking about here. Let's try this. All right. So, for instance, I told you potassium. Potassium likes to make this ion. All right, just to review really quickly again. What has happened to a potassium atom to make it a positively charged ion? Okay, hopefully you said potassium has given up one of its electrons. When it did that, it became positively charged. Okay? Now, we also talked about chlorine in the last time when we talked about ions. And we said that chlorine likes to make this ion for itself. Okay, what has happened to a chlorine atom if it has become this kind of ion? If you said it has taken an extra electron, then that's correct. Okay, so now we have these two ions. We have a positively charged potassium ion, and we have a negatively charged chloride, it's called now since it's an ion. Okay, what do positive charges and negative charges like to do? They like to get close together. They bond. All right, so what we get is an ionic bond, and this is the way this compound is written. It's called potassium chloride. And the bond between potassium and chlorine is an ionic bond because it is based on the fact that we have two ions and those electrostatic charges are attracting each other, so they like to hang out. Okay? All right, so that's an example of an ionic bond. There are many more. That's the only example I'm going to give you right now. I'll probably give you an assignment that will do more of that, though. Okay, the other type of bond we can have is when atoms share electrons. They aren't strong enough really there isn't a strong enough pull to take electrons away. Okay? So what they end up doing is just sharing their electrons. And when electrons are shared, electrons are always shared in pairs. Okay? You can have more than one pair shared, but you can never have one electron shared. It's always shared in pairs. Okay. So, substances, what are we on time?
4:20.
All right, let's stop.